What's up, everybody? We're live. I don't know if we're going to be live on Instagram today or not. I forget. But we're talking about the Mastering Diabetes book today. And of course, we're talking about daily habits. All right. That is something that is important because one thing that's really important to us is longevity and consistency, right? We don't want to participate in short-term hacks, short-term solutions. That's not what we're about. So we're going to get into habits, daily habits, things that are doable. We're going to talk about that today. As you're coming in and joining us, let us know where you're coming from and what type of diabetes are you living with. Or maybe you are here for our Mastering Weight Loss program and you don't have diabetes, but you want to lose weight. So let's talk about it. We did have a really Maria's given us a red heart. I love that. Rhode Island. We also have a comment that came in from Hammy Cooper, MD. Hammy, I hope you're with us. Hammy says, have been doing Mastering Diabetes for 7 months. Marvelous improvements. My his lipid profile is normal. He's not been able to get his blood sugar in the morning to below 80 to 100. So he's trying to do that. So it's great to have you here. That's a great goal. I'm glad you're shooting for that. Valley's got a nice heart for us. Branson, Missouri, type 2. Welcome. My A1C just got retested yesterday. Went from 6.9 to 5.6. Ghost, you're a consistent participant here. I find your name. It makes me laugh every time. But that's a fantastic result. That's great. Kudos to you. That puts you in the non-diabetic range. Amelia, greetings from Ireland. Glad to have you with us. Barb, type 2 for 35 years. Okay. So Barb, let's talk about that. I want to know if you're using any medications or not after 35 years of type 2. Let me know in the chat box. So let's see. We have a lot to talk about today. So I want to talk about daily habit number 1. Okay. Daily habit number 1 is you have to build a lifestyle where your total fat intake is decreased. We got Coach Paula in the house. Love that, Coach Paula. Coach Paula is like a legend. She's on our team. Glad to have you with us, Paula. It's fantastic. So habit number 1 here. We're talking about, we have Pune, India, unable to bring morning fasting blood sugar below 160. Okay. So guys, let's talk about this. I'm going to talk about habits that can help you get the results you're looking for. We got Tyler, who's in the coaching program. Glad to have you with us. Okay. We have Eddie Marty's eating meal plan with the obstacle. If I go out to lunch, cannot buy or eat meal plan for the day. Can you help? Okay. So Eddie, I just, last week I did a show about, eating out. Okay. So you can go back and watch that. It's in our Facebook archive. Amelia's been put on Ozempic and recently diagnosed type 2. So what we're going to be covering today is habits that you can begin to adopt, which are going to address insulin resistance. Like if you're new to us, I'm actually curious. I want you to write the word new in the chat box if you're kind of like new to what we teach, or let's just type old. Old if like you've been around for a bit, you know who we are, right? Like new or old. I want a new or an old in the comment, all right, in the comment box. I'm actually very curious. So Paula would write the word old because she's familiar with our information for many, many years. She's doing it, okay? Paula has an incredible story. So Amelia says new, okay? Jenna says new. Valley says old. Laura says old, okay? Bob says newish. Catherine says old. Okay. So we're almost like 50-50 right now. Steven says new. Jade says new. Paula, I appreciate your comments. Maria says new. 2 weeks. All right. So here's the deal. So I'm speaking to the people who are new to this, and I'm reminding the people who've been around for a bit. Okay. So we're live on Instagram. So I gotta go. Actually, what I gotta do is I gotta flip over here and I gotta go tap my Mastering Diabetes. Okay. So we are talking about the principles, okay? Principles that you can adopt to become insulin sensitive. So that's where I was going with this. All right. The whole purpose of everything we do at Mastering Diabetes and through our Mastering Weight Loss program, everything we do is focused on adopting evidence-based principles that help you become insulin sensitive, to help you reverse insulin resistance permanently. Okay? That is the entire focus of everything we do. All right? And so today I'm giving you a couple simple lifestyle habits that are going to help you become more insulin sensitive. And so for all of you who in the chat box you wrote, I'm living with type 2 diabetes. I can't get my fasting blood glucose under 100 for 3 days in a row, right? Everybody who wrote those comments coming in, these habits that I'm talking about are addressing those concerns, which is the reason your blood glucose is high, the reason your A1C is high is because you're living with insulin resistance in that case. So my son was diagnosed at age 5, type 1, he's now 17. Okay, so Becky, great question. No, this is for all types of diabetes. And quite frankly, it's for everybody, every human being, but obviously we focus specifically on diabetes. So as you can see, again, the woman who asked that question just might not even know. Cyrus and myself were the co-founders of this organization. We're both living with type 1 diabetes. On January 26th, that'll be my 24-year anniversary of living with type 1 diabetes. And Cyrus, I think, has been living with it for like 18 years. So we're combined like well over 40 years of living with this condition. And all the principles in this book about maximizing insulin sensitivity apply to all types of diabetes. Okay? That's the key here. When you become insulin sensitive, the laundry list of benefits is extraordinary. Okay? And so let me just cover the type 1 thing right now. For a type 1, why does it matter to be insulin sensitive? Number one, your blood glucose control right now becomes more predictable today. As you become more insulin sensitive, your ability to dose the proper amount of insulin for the food that you're eating, that whole process becomes predictable and reliable. Less questions, less like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is my blood glucose so high? Why, no matter how much insulin I take, I still can't get it to come down? These questions disappear. These questions and these challenges with type 1 diabetes disappear. Okay? So somebody says, isn't LADA basically the same as type 1? Ghost, it's very similar. Yes, it's very similar. All right? So what we're talking about now, I should finish my type 1 thought here. So better blood glucose control in the moment, right? Then more predictable, no, I'm not sorry, a decreased risk of long-term complications. So the number one cause of death for people living with type 1 diabetes is heart disease. It's not actually diabetes. It's not actually the high blood glucose readings that end up, killing most people. Okay? I got to clear my throat here. I ate a sapodilla before this. And the skin is like itching my throat, but that's okay. So we're talking about reversing insulin resistance. That's the whole point here, right? And there are several daily habits that you can begin to incorporate, which will help you become more insulin sensitive. So what I also want to make clear about what we teach in this book, what we teach through our blog, our social media, our coaching program, any one of the teaching points that is adopted by you is beneficial. When you stack them all together, that is when the results become extraordinary. Okay? So there is a long list of different things that you can do to become more insulin sensitive. And when you do all of them together, that's when it just gets mind-boggling. And that's the experience that I've had. So I'm living with type 1 diabetes. Every time I want to eat food, I have to take some insulin, okay? My insulin sensitivity compared to standard protocols, like, standard of care, compared to definitely keto, my insulin sensitivity, it's mind-boggling. Even myself, after 18 years of living the Master Diabetes method, even some days I'm just like scratching my head, like, wow, like how did that just happen? I mean, I will have meals, dinner meals, where my ratio is upwards of 100 to 1. And for a keto person, that would be, they would do 1 to 1. So the increase, like the percent change, is truly mind-boggling. So what are these habits? What are the key ones? As I was beginning to say earlier, number one, you've got to adopt a lifestyle that reduces your total fat intake. Period. End of story. Like, you have to reduce you cannot follow a high fat diet and expect any significant level of insulin sensitivity. You just can't, right? So there's people doing like a keto diet, a high fat diet. They're having like 70, 80, 90% of calories coming from fat, like crazy numbers out there, right? You have to be like, it's crazy, right? So that's habit number one. And how do you do that? Well, one way is to certainly just begin becoming knowledgeable about this. Okay, becoming knowledgeable about how much fat you're consuming, and use a nutrition logging software. We like Chronometer. You can use MyFitnessPal. You can use whatever software you want, but you have to have some knowledge about how much fat you're consuming and which foods are providing the most amount of fat. And this knowledge is going to help you also learn and understand that even all the whole foods that you're consuming contain fat, which is so mind-boggling. Like for me, when I have a typical day of eating, let's just say, I don't know, like 2,800 calories or something, and I don't eat any high-fat foods, I still get 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 grams of fat. Like from lettuce, from bananas, from arugula, from oranges. What do I got behind me? I got persimmons. I got mangoes. I'm looking at my produce area. I got tomatoes. Like, all whole foods will provide you with not just fat, but some amount of essential fatty acids. And so what we provide in this book as an insurance policy is chia seeds and flax seeds. Okay. And with your breakfast, to make sure to be your guaranteed insurance policy that you get all the essential fatty acids you need in your day. But then all your whole foods are adding to that. So that's tip number one, right? Which was, we'll think about, like, you have a major bullet point and then a sub bullet point. All right. Number one is you got to become you got to start eating a lower fat diet. And then that sub bullet point is, well, how do you know if you're eating lower fat or not if you don't go and make it objectively true? Like, go look into it. Now, I want to put Paula's comment up on the chat box if we could do that real quick. Paula made a great comment here, and I want to read it to everybody. Paula says, I've lost 45 pounds to reverse her type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure by following what Robby is saying here, okay, what we teach at Mastering Diabetes. Thanks for sharing this. I am 61 and no medication. Fasting blood is now ranging 80 to 90 after 9 years of my diagnosis, okay? So Paula's a coach in our program. I just want to highlight Paula because she's an incredible human being, and so is our entire team. So we have, I believe it's now, I think, 13 coaches on our team right now. And every single one of them lives the lifestyle. Like, when you're working with a coach and they're asking you to make these changes and do these daily habits, nobody is telling you to do something they're not doing, right? So I want you to put the letter D in the chat box. Put the letter D in the chat box for disappointed. If you've ever worked with a healthcare professional where you could tell they weren't leading by example. You ever been to a doctor's office and the doctor is like clearly 100 pounds overweight and they're telling you that you should like move your body and reduce your weight in order to improve your health, right? Has that ever happened to you? Like, you just kind of got, yes, I love this page. Thank you. Producer Bess coming in strong here. Our coaching team is incredible. Amy, Kylie, Mark, and you can look in the bold part, it's just like the level of experience we have, whether it's registered dietitians, whether it's certified diabetes care and education specialists, whether it's registered nurses, whether it's certified health coaches, whether people have a master's in nutrition. Like, it's a wide range. It's all over the place. We have several coaches who are they themselves living with type 1 diabetes. So, that's always good to be paired with some of those people. We have people on our team who are, qualified as a nurse practitioner. Like the level of experience and qualifications and dedication that our team has is something we're just like super proud of. So I'm glad we got to highlight some of our team members there. But I see a lot of D's coming in. And look, I mean, I've been there, right? I'm not going to name any names, but like my doctor at the Mayo Clinic when I was growing up, that doctor was at least 200 pounds overweight, right? Like, I don't know. It's just, you lose a little bit of respect there. I mean, obviously you still have a lot of respect. I mean, I respect all doctors. I mean, if you went through med school, like that's incredible, to be honest. That's like med school is something else. But, when it comes to like lifestyle change and listening to habits, like it's like, are you actually doing what you're asking me to do? So anyways, Mary, new from Oklahoma, 17 years or so, type 2. Highest known A1C 9.9. Tested last week. A1C now 7.0. Stage 2 kidney disease, slight retinopathy, and don't feel great. 70 years old female. Weight has been 220, now 150. That's a big change. It's a big change, Mary. Okay. So you lost some weight, but looks like you got some other stuff to take care of. You're in the right place. I hope you've read this book. If you haven't, it's time to pick up a copy. Have constant lows doing this method. Amanda, it's a great question. I love that question. That one gets me excited. Okay. The reason you're having lows is because you're becoming more insulin sensitive. And the way to solve that is, let's see here. It's right in the book. Okay. It's in the book. It's on our website. It's called the decision tree right here. Let's do insulin dependence. Insulin dependent 24-hour decision tree. This whole thing is explained in the book. Okay. This is our version of a diabetes logbook. And what this does is this empowers you to make objective decisions. When you go through the process of understanding your ratios and adjusting the column H is what you need, Amanda. Column H is what gives you the insight of, based on what happened at the last meal, what ratio should I try at the next meal? This is a huge part of our coaching program. We help people sort through this and understand it. And I got to tell you, Amanda, for females living with insulin-dependent diabetes, you have an entirely different challenge that males don't have to deal with, which is the menstrual cycle, right? So decision trees become incredibly powerful for how your insulin sensitivity changes before, during, and after the typical menstrual cycle, okay? So what page is that? In this book, that is in the Appendix C, page 361. Page 361, Appendix C, all right? That's where you would learn about decision trees. Very, very powerful. So there you have it. All right, so let's talk about a couple other habits. Number one, I talked about low fat, right? So the Mastering Diabetes method has 4 components: low fat, plant-based, whole food nutrition. It has the component of intermittent fasting. It has the component of movement. And then we have decision trees. Those are the 4 components of the Mastering Diabetes method, okay? So we didn't talk about low fat, plant-based, whole food nutrition in totality. We just talked about the low fat component, which is fine, okay? Then when you move into, let's talk about exercise, right? Wherever you are now, you got to start striving towards improvements. And what I want you to do is thinking about a habit, right? Is embrace the journey. It doesn't end, right? You don't reach like some fitness pinnacle and then you just like stop doing fitness. You want to embrace that. I love this. Tip number 2, embrace the journey of movement on a daily basis, right? So we want you to move towards, in the book, we describe what's the goal to get up to, which is a minimum of 30 minutes per day, 6 days a week, and you lose your breath in each one of those sessions. Okay, that 7th day would not be no movement. That would make sure you do walking that day. Okay, so movement has to be key. Movement has to be key. And it's incredibly powerful. So again, wherever you are, inch it up a little bit. Whatever you're doing, inch it up. Start getting creative, doing different fitness. But like the habit of loving your movement. Like if I could really condense it down to like one thing I would want you to be able to walk away with this is like the habit has to be enjoying it. Like wanting to do it. It's gotta be some fun, or like even let's say, I listen to a lot of these motivational videos, on YouTube, for my pursuit of being a better Ironman athlete. So I did 3 Ironmans last year. My next one's coming up on April 27th in Houston, Texas. So, people like Mike Tyson, some of these elite athletes, they say, you gotta do what you hate, but do it like you love it. Right. Maybe that's advice for like an extreme athlete, but like for anybody who's just trying to do more movement, it's gotta be, even if you don't necessarily like love the discomfort that's happening while doing the fitness, hopefully there's an association with how much you love what the outcome is, like how you feel about yourself mentally, how you feel physically, because you did the work. Right. So hopefully like there's gotta be some level of like, I feel good about this, whether it's during the fitness or after the fitness, you have to feel good about it. All right. Okay. So producers telling me it's time to get to the questions. So let's get to the questions. I'll try and answer some questions that come in on Instagram. It's hard to watch all these feeds and talk. All right. All right. So Dr. Cooper, what can I eat that's crunchy and satisfying after the evening meal and stay controlled in my goals? Okay, well, we have a blog post exactly about this, okay? Satisfy crunchy cravings without sacrificing your health, all right? This article, you can simply Google to find it. And we have this cauliflower bites, one of my favorite recipes of all time, like these snacks, finding sauces and dips, veggie chips. There's this company called Rhythm. Rhythm makes these vegetable chips that are incredible. So these are just some simple examples. Mary's Gone Crackers. I don't know if those Engine 2 crisp breads are around anymore, but there are things out there. So hopefully that was helpful. I will say, if you want just like a packaged snack, there's this company called Rhythm. And they, if you do no salt, they have some options that are no salt. They have like some beet chips and some carrot chips, no salt. And then they have other options that have a little bit of salt if you're doing that. So I highly recommend that company. Not sponsored, but I certainly would love to be sponsored by them. That would be great. Friend, not diabetic, but has, I think she means PCOS. The A and the S are very close to each other on the keyboard. How can this help her? Okay, so we have an article. You would Google PCOS mastering diabetes, and you will find the ultimate guide to handling PCOS, which is the key thing here is you want to optimize your insulin sensitivity, right? PCOS isn't something like you fully just like completely reverse. It's not really the way that works, but there's things you can do to change your experience with that condition for sure. All right. So just Google PCOS mastering diabetes. It's been said that insulin stops fat burning and enhances fat storage. No. Okay. Eddie Marty, please pick up the book. Please. I mean, let me see if I can find the little graphic here. We have an entire chapter. As a matter of fact, you can get chapter 3 for free. There is a link. We have a way to get that. Oh man, there's a link where you can go get chapter 3 for free. Chapter 3 would answer your question. Now there is one way to do it. I think if you just go to our website. Oh man. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out for the next live. But look, the mastering diabetes method, no matter what type of diabetes you're living with, will help you get to the appropriate levels of insulin in your life. If you're living with type 1 diabetes and you inject insulin, you're going to inject a physiologically normal amount of insulin. Okay, that's what's going to happen. All right. I eat over, somewhere between like 500 plus 600, 700, depending how much exercise, like well over 500 grams of carbohydrate per day. Okay. And I inject a physiologically normal amount of insulin. So for everybody who's living with type 1, you can understand. I inject somewhere between like 25-ish, sometimes less, sometimes more. 25-ish total units of insulin per day. Okay. A healthy, normal human pancreas is going to produce somewhere between like 30 and 50-ish. So insulin's not the enemy. You want the appropriate amount of insulin. Okay. And carbohydrates are not the cause of excess of insulin. It's the fat. It's the fat. You got to read the book. You got to read the book. Okay. We're coming up against time here. So is olive oil okay? So when it comes to food, we have green light, yellow light, and red light. And just so you know, we're not the food police. Nothing is like either okay or bad, good or bad. It's like better or worse, kind of a good way to think about it. But there are better options than olive oil when it comes to which foods do I eat to become more insulin sensitive, right? If you want the nutrients that are provided from olive oil, we suggest you consume a small amount of whole olives. That would be the best way to get the nutrition from that particular food. But no one food is a miracle food, okay? And when oil is one of the most refined foods on the planet. We recommend whole foods in as abundant as possible, okay? All right. So we do not recommend keto. It's hard to be like, oh, so it's not good for diabetes. I mean, again, that's like, it could be better than somebody was just eating like only McDonald's all day or something, right? So keto would not be a smart way to optimize insulin sensitivity. Let's put it that way. If you want to truly become insulin sensitive, that's going to require low-fat, plant-based whole food nutrition. Since reading your book and following your method, I went from A1C of 9.2 to 7 in less than 6 weeks. Noreen, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Keep it going. All right, we're going to wrap it up here in a minute. I was not looking at the Instagram comments. Sorry, guys. So I didn't really see anything that happened on Instagram today. Next time, if I put it up here, anybody on Instagram want to ask a question so I can feel good that I answered one of your questions? I'm going to put you up on here so I can see it better. I can see it better. All right. That's more in front of me now. All right. So, somebody says, if I'm eating whole food, plant-based, mostly veg and squash, etc., glucose above 170, how to reduce glucose? Drop to 110 once ate chicken. I would want to dig into details there. So somebody on Instagram just asked a question like, I'm eating whole food, plant-based, but my blood glucose is still above 170. That's problematic. Like especially if that's your fasting blood glucose. If that's your fasting blood glucose, this is time to like get the right medical care, get the right diagnosis, like work with a coach, work with a qualified healthcare professional in whatever capacity you can to figure out what's going on. Okay. So I don't know. You could be doing it properly. I'm not going to sit here and say, wow, like you're 170. So you're just not doing it properly. You could be, and it could be a misdiagnosis. Or you could think you're doing whole food plant-based, but then you're not. That's an option too. So I don't know until you find somebody to help you dig into the details. Somebody on Instagram says, what can I do to lower the A1C? So number one would be grab a copy of this book and do these tips that I talked about today. The beginning steps would be lower your fat intake and start moving your body more. That's like the simple way to get started. Obviously, there's a lot more details and nuances in there. Somebody says, is it possible for me to go from an A1C of 8.9 to 7 in 1 to 2 months? Yes, that is possible. That is possible. There's actually, they talk about in peer-reviewed research about testing changes early in less than 3 months, and then projecting out into the future. So of what would potentially be the 3-month drop. So yes, A1Cs can drop. You don't have to wait 3 months to see your A1C drop. That's what I'm trying to say here. All right. I answered a couple Instagram questions. So this was good. Appreciate you guys showing up. Again, I hope you leave this taking action. I really hope that whatever amount of time you spent in this live today, that you walk away being like, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to take action from the time I just invested here. Is that picking up a copy of the book? Is that going and downloading nutrition software and actually finding out how much fat you're eating per day? Are you actually going to change your movement patterns and increase them. I hope it's going to be something. And I hope you guys have a great day. We do this show every Wednesday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, we do another show. Soon enough, we're going to bring back some recipes on this show. It's about me setting up the camera equipment. And then we can do some recipes again, which was fun on this Wednesday show. But we'll get there. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again on Friday. Catch you later.